if we don't know how to embrace people when they're at their lowest, then how do we seem like an attractive place that people can come for safety? I want to talk about that today, bro. Welcome back to another episode of the Reasons Behold podcast with Tolly Talks.
And Arnold Reasons. Are you going to play the clip I think you're going to play?
It depends, brother. It depends.
Is it two pastors?
It sure is.
Oh my gosh. You're going controversial today. You're going controversial.
We don't mind a little bit of controversy every now and then. And it's so interesting because have you finished the whole video?
No,
okay.
I haven't.
Cool.
I've only. Do you know what? Yeah, if it's who I think you're talking about,
I know.
I'm quite hesitant.
There's no if. I'm absolutely certain that it is probably who you think it is.
Does it talk about something like getting close enough to get blood on you, something like that? Yep. Cool. So I've been quite hesitant to watch any of those full clips, and I don't know why. Really? I'm just like, I don't. Well, especially that one, because that one is, But even like the whole thing, I've been quite hesitant to watch the whole clips. I think Carla's watched a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not watched a whole episode yet because I'm still undecided about this whole thing. I can't lie to you. Have you watched the whole thing?
Okay. No, I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm probably about maybe 10, 15 minutes or so in. And I thought it was actually a pretty good conversation so far.
Interesting.
Such that I thought, you know what? I found a section of it and I thought, you know what, this is probably worth us actually talking about. And the listeners are probably completely spun about what we're talking about.
What is going
on?
We're
going to get into it. We're going to get into it. So if you're listening audibly, just so you know, part of the Reasons Behold experience actually involves video on YouTube. So you can tag along, look us up, subscribe to the channel, and you get to watch some of the clips that we talk through and see our facial reactions and everything else. But I'm going to roll the clip, bro, or a section from the conversation. I think it's going to be an interesting opportunity to speak.
So for the listeners, I'm going to be just as surprised as you. So you're going to get my very in-the-moment reaction because I've definitely not watched more than maybe a 30 to 1 minute clip on Instagram. So yeah.
All right. So
We're going to give context or no?
We're going to give context. So spoiler alert, it's a conversation between Pastor Mike Todd and Lentz on the B-side.
I see how you didn't call him Pastor or ex-Pastor Lentz.
I said Pastor up front, bro. So
yeah, but
you can do what you want to do with it, right?
You said it for Mr. Todd. You didn't say it for Mr. Lentz. But to be fair, he's not a pastor anymore.
I didn't separate the two, but anyway, yeah. Minister.
I don't think he is anymore. I think he's just brother.
I mean, even the brothers are ministers, bro. Just maybe not in a formal setting, because we're all servants at the end of the day, hey? Anyway.
Okay, you can call him Servant Carlin then. Servant Carlin.
Tony doesn't rate, man. So what for context.
Sorry, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
It's not me that I don't think you don't rate.
You know what, yeah? Do you know what's really sad? Is that I went to Hillsong, New York, yeah? And I watched the brother preach, yeah?
Yeah.
The brother can preach!
Yeah.
The brother can preach! So I was gutted when all this stuff came out. I was absolutely gutted. Gutted.
I just realized, actually, it probably helps to give a bit more context than I was going to give. Do you want to give the listeners a little bit more context on the backdrop?
Okay. So Carl Lentz was one of the pastors. Well, he was the main pastor of Hillsong, New York.
Yeah.
And he had people like Justin Bieber, NBA players, entertainers. They all felt like he was their pastor. And he had like this meteoric rise, like absolutely meteoric. And he was like celebrity pastor type vibe. So I was very suspicious. And then when I went to Hillsong, New York, and he preached, I said, oh, okay, no, he actually understands the word. Like it wasn't some of the other stuff we hear out there naming no names. But he had quite a big like fall, right? So he had, I think it was multiple affairs. One of them came out and it's been quite a journey. He lost his job at Hillsong. Hillsong has its own issues and drama that's happening at the moment as well. So there's a lot of like scandal happening. But basically him and his wife have started this podcast together where they're talking through, and his kids are on the podcast too, talking through everything that happened. Yeah. His kids are. I just see clips. I've still not watched a full episode yet. I can't quite do it. I don't know why. I can't quite do it. So they've got this podcast, and then there's this thing called B-side, which is Tim Ross. And if you're familiar with Tim Ross, it's Jesus was a stripper guy.
Can we just acknowledge from a commercial perspective, right? I don't know what the numbers are
it.
behind it, but this guy, he's really onto something, right?
Bro, the numbers are all the way up.
You know,
The way up.
you know, Lecrae's podcast is also under it, right?
Yeah, under that. Yeah. Bro, but it's like, this is where like slightly controversial people come to talk. Because bro, even Lecrae's had his own stuff. Like Lecrae, that was my guy from way back. He's got his own stuff. So like, it's like all the controversialist people are coming together.
Gather here.
Oh, yeah.
But you know how the internet works, bro, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, that's why the numbers are up.
Where the eyeballs are going to go.
Bro, it's sad because, okay, so you got Tim Ross with Jesus Was a Stripper. You've got Mike Todd, with I'm going to spit in your mouth or whatever it was after COVID. You've got Carl Lentz, who we've just gone through, and Lecrae, who's gone through this like deconstruction and reconstruction of faith. Is he rapping about Jesus anymore? Is he not? Like, you've got all these people just in one place. And who did Lecrae? Bro, there's so much in that one B-side thing. And bro, do you know what I got told as well, is that B-side is apparently, and I need to fact check this, but it's apparently what they call like Christians who are homosexual or something like that. Is B-side. I need to fact check it because that's what someone told me. And Peter, let me fact check it. And if it's not true, strike it from the record.
I was gonna say I can't save you from the YouTube though, bro. It's unfiltered.
Oh, this is true. This is true. Yeah,
Until we get an editor.
Okay, so it's side B Christians. So side B Christians are Christians who identify as LGBT or LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, side B, not B side. I need
to
go back to my source. Yeah. So there's all sorts going on. But some of the conversations seem really interesting. And it's beautifully shot. Like, their cinematography is on point. I'll give them that. But yeah, bro, I've not quite brought myself to watch a whole B-side episode. I've not done it yet.
So let me roll the clip. So obviously this clip is mid-conversation, right? And I can't remember where exactly it lands. Hopefully it should give enough context based on what you've described. But he's now talking through some of that whole journey.
More context. They're friends, and I think they've been friends for a while. And I think Carl Lentz is now in some kind of role at Mike Todd's church.
Yeah, he's definitely, I believe he's still at least a member. And I think he also has some sort of role within the
I think he's like a consultant
or some
kind.
I know. I remember when the headlines popped and they basically said that he's been hired or whatever. But again, he's involved. He's in the mix. Let's just say, right?
Let me get his actual role, because I think he's definitely employed there. Yeah, he's serving on staff at Transformation Church.
Cool.
Yeah.
So they're kind of talking through. I think just some of the journey of how they met. And how that all came to be and all of that kind of stuff. And I thought this would be interesting to...
This is not what I expected when you said, let's do an episode. That's what I'm going to say. I'm as surprised as anybody. This is not what I expected at all.
You have to change it up every now and then, man.
Oh, gosh.
You have to change it up. And especially, look, before I even roll the clip, right? Here's why I think it's an interesting one to roll. Because I know for a fact, when all of the stuff did come out, right?
Yeah.
His name was being rolled and dragged everywhere, right? And again, whether it's acceptable, right, and all of that kind of stuff, I'm not even here to even talk on that, right? But I think it's interesting to look at things like this from a slightly different angle, especially in the context of what they actually discuss within this conversation.
Right.
Because I think when you take away like the celebrity and all of that kind of stuff, and you strip it down to the fact that this is a human being who is a brother in the faith at the least, who has obviously made a bunch of decisions which are inconsistent with the faith and all of that kind of stuff. Like, would you drag your brother who you know face to face and you do life with close to close, like eyeball to eyeball, you eat in each other's homes, you sit at each other's tables, would you deal with them if they were up close and personal the same way that you would deal with a distant celebrity pastor in that particular position?
Some people do, bro. What are you talking about? Is that even some people absolutely do?
So I think I 100% do believe some people do and some people would, but I think that there are a lot of people that have a whole lot more chest because of the distance.
Fully. Keyboard warriors.
That's the problem. Keyboard warriors. The keyboard warrior gang, all of that.
Do you know what it is as well, bro? Is that we don't usually hear other sides of the story.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do like about the fact that they've done this podcast, not Mike Todd and Carl Lentz, but just in general, is that he talks about like his childhood, and he was like assaulted, as a child.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And bro, this is the thing. Like, normally you wouldn't hear it when it's in the news. You don't hear that side of it. But he talks about how that sexual assault as a young person impacted the decisions he was. Yeah, and these are things that you would never know. Like 10 years ago, he wouldn't have had a platform to go on and talk about that. But bro, now people create their own platforms. Like, it's a wonderful world we live in, but you have to be really careful. But yeah, I think that thing of how would we deal with people, I think is really, really important. And whether they're distant or whether they're close, it is really important. So I love 100%. That we're doing this, as much as I find it a little bit awkward.
And you know what? Even on that point you mentioned about the platforms and stuff, isn't it interesting how, like, I'm sure that once upon a time, if you were in a position like he was, lead pastor of however many people and all that kind of stuff, right? And you had a massive fall like this, it's like, you're done. Like, where is there for you to go? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how in 2024, there is room for you to go and segue into other things, whether you decide to go back to that or not. And separate conversation.
But bro, there are so many conversations about, okay, but should he be in charge of people? Like, it's so interesting. Like, do we actually see people being restored back to ministry in the Bible after like catastrophic things? Like David, yes. Do you know what I mean? Like, David was king. You know what I'm saying? But in the New Testament, do we see that? Like, what do we see?
It's tough, bro, man. There are so many conversations that come out of this, right? Like, quick side point. There have been a number of names over the last few years, even since COVID times, right?
Yeah.
One after the other, dropping like flies, story after story. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, let's roll the clip because I think
what I can say is may we never be found in those names.
Amen.
Please,
and
Jesus,
amen. Honestly,
let us never be found in those names.
Honestly. Yeah, man.
How long is the clip?
It is about 3 minutes.
Wow.
I've actually got the full conversation there, but I need to remember to cut it off. All right, we good?
Like, look at that lighting, bro. Like,
I know, it's excellent, bro.
They just know how to do it.
It's excellent. And if you missed the last episode that we spoke about, maybe this is your calling to wake up and do lighting, studio, and whatever it is that you do when it comes to this space with excellence.
Yeah.
Me and Tolu, we're not necessarily the most expertise in these areas. So that's why you got to forgive us for the difference between what we produce and obviously what happens there. But
bro,
may we get there by God's grace, right?
I've been getting someone to help me.
And that's it. And
I'm working on it.
And in fairness, we are working from where we are, right? We were talking offline about certain upgrades that we're looking to make to the set. So
exactly. We're working.
We're space. We're on our way.
Yeah, we're working.
Let me roll it.
Fast forward a lot of life, and all of our stuff goes down, and we end up post-apocalypse in Bradenton, Florida. Yeah. And I want to take a second to give a shout.
So for context, post-apocalypse is obviously he's saying after everything happened,
after
it
the
all went down, right?
After the fall.
Yeah.
Shout out to my guy Randy Bazette, who is just a true hero to our family. But he was one of the first guys that was like, "Hey, come here." We were headed. We didn't know where we're going to go. Yeah. And we're trying to pick it. And Randy called me. He said, "Hey, I really felt compelled to let you know you're welcome here, Bayside Community Church, Christian Church. I love you and your family, and I want you guys to come here. It'd be a great spot to just start to rebuild." And I said, "Randy, you're going to catch some heat." And he goes, "Do I look like I'm a guy that worries about heat?" Exactly like you would, but from a Randy Bazette way. And he and his wife Amy and his boys, his family, just embraced our kids and our life. And that was such a traumatic time where we barely remember Florida. It's like a whirlwind. And Randy gave us time to just breathe and to just be. And we'd kind of float in and out of church and just trying to get our heads together. And after about a year of that, we started feeling a little bit better, a little bit different. And I talked to Randy. I said, "I feel like there's a shift coming. I don't know what it's going to be." And I find out you're in Tampa. And we were texting, and I said, I'll meet you down to wherever you are. And I went to a hotel because I think y'all were filming a video. And we met and we talked for damn near 20 hours. Yeah. That's my evangelistic exaggeration.
It was no, for real, like 5 or 6 hours.
And we just talked and talked and talked. And
listened to Morgan Wallen.
Listen to Morgan Wallen. Yeah. We listened to Unreleased TC.
Yeah.
So I was like, what are you listening to?
Playing music.
It's like, I have no worship to show you, but this guy, Morgan Wallen, I feel him. We listened to like 10 songs of Morgan Wallen. Watch this one here. I'm sure you're like, okay. I'm like, no, watch this one. And so you showed me more worship and Jesus. I showed you Morgan and drugs and drinking. And
We had a great time.
we had a great time. And you said, you know, towards the end, you said, hey, why don't you just come up with your fam and just hang out and just be around for a little bit. And so you flew my family up. We didn't have the means to do it then. And we came, at that time, it was me, you, and Roman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we came to TC and we were just blown away. I think,
Here they are.
no, they're not coming. No, I think when you go through huge traumatic things with what you have loved your whole life, which for us is the church,
Mhm.
you know, I had maybe subconsciously written off my involvement with church. I just was, you know, I don't know. I'm
You
so
said those words to me when we were
I
in
did.
the meeting.
I did.
You said, I
Yeah,
don't
we
think
were
I'm going
done.
to do church.
Yeah, I don't on any level.
Yeah.
And you know, we came in and it just was undeniable. Like, so I've had to describe TC to a couple people. One of the ways I've described it as a giant hug. I don't know if anybody else. I might have to like coin that
Yeah.
phrase, but TC, it's a hug. If you want to step in there, if you have the courage to put your foot in this church, the vibe of the church is a hug. We sat there and we listened to worship, and we were a wreck. And Roman, in the middle of the like service, he's like, "Hey, Dad, this place is pretty cool." And I was like,
He said, I would move here.
and then he said, I would move here. And we hadn't talked about moving
Mm-mm.
at all. And I'm going, and Roman was the one we were most, you know, the issue in Florida was just mainly school. Couldn't really find a fit. We loved Randy, loved Amy, but that was a big deal. And Roman was like, I Dad, because he just said he'll never move again in Florida
Yeah.
before we left. And we're here. And he goes, I would move here. And I was like, it really isn't in the cards, bro. But, you know, that's fine. And so we had such a impacting visit where all you did was just love us and hug us and hang out and let us know that I'm too therapized to apologize. So now I just hesitate.
Do you do?
I got cussed out by my therapist about 2 years. She said, if you ever apologize for your tears, we can't meet anymore. I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry. But you can retell it. Let me finish my spiel.
You're skipping
He's
so
skipping a
much.
lot.
But
Yeah.
I just want to catch people up, and then you can jump in. And so after talking, we're on a plane going back, and I look at Laura. I said, what are you doing? She's like, I'm looking at houses.
Mm.
I said, where? She said, in Tulsa. And I was just like, what on earth? And, you know, we went home and started thinking and started praying, and you and I talked, and all you had told me basically was if y'all, you know, want to make a move, you know, we love you. I got you, you know, and there's a place for you here. And just meaning as a human being. And this is my version, so everybody can tell their versions. But, you know, when I remember locking it in, going, hey, we're going to come, my over concern was, bro, I don't want you to catch any more heat.
Yeah.
We live in such a ridiculous, although no pastor should catch heat for welcoming in anyone, let alone somebody who is in dire straits that just blew up their life. Although that should be the case, it's not the world we live in. I said, you're going to catch heat because you're a leader, you're a lightning rod as it is. Last thing I want you to do is catch, and you stopped me pretty much mid-sentence, and you were like, bro, we're prepared. This is what we choose to do. And if we choose to do something around here, this is what we choose to do. I don't, and you said it just like you're sitting there now. And I just thought, I don't know, man, these people are pretty nasty, but you know, you're not unfamiliar with that side of our faith. And yeah, so we get here, and for the last almost, you know, it's been over 2 years. And how long exactly?
It's been
Almost 2.
Close to
almost
2.
2.
I'll stop it there because the conversation does continue. But, and I don't know if it comes after this, but the point that you mentioned is that at some point when he obviously expressed that he's concerned that Mike Todd was going to take some heat, he said, I don't mind having blood on me, basically, or something to that effect.
What he said was, you can't say you're standing with someone if you're not close enough that if they get shot, basically, or if they get hit, you get their blood on them.
Okay. Yes, I didn't even get to that part.
Yeah. Well,
So
I
there
only
might
saw
be-
a 1 minute clip. That's probably
so there might be another.
afterwards.
Yeah, it might be another part. Of it.
Yeah.
What are you saying, bro? Talk to me. What are your thoughts?
Do you know what? I find so interesting?
Mm.
Is that he talks about, and there's kind of two sides to this for me. One side is he talks about, you know, when you've been traumatized by something that you love or something to that effect. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting because he's talking about probably how the church responded to him having an affair, right? And I think it's like, well, you traumatized a bunch of people, but you're talking about it as if, oh no, wait, I was doing what I was meant to be doing in church, and then the church hurt me. It's
They
like,
just
but
got
hold
me.
on,
Yeah.
yeah, like this wasn't like an unprovoked thing. Do you know what I mean? Like this wasn't an unprovoked thing, and that's what that kind of sounds like because there are people who have had things in the church where it's hurt them, or where they've been serving and then they've been burnt out, and it for me it sounds similar language, and that for me I was a bit like, okay, hold on though. You didn't do nothing, like you did something. And people that are leaders and teachers are going to be held to a higher standard. Do I agree, though, that everybody dealt with it in the right way? No. I don't agree at all. Like, there are so many things about the situation that we don't understand, and we do have to be careful as Christians about how we judge. 100%.
Yeah.
But sometimes that language, for me, I was a little bit like, but that kind of sounds like you didn't do
victim.
anything, and then people just witch hunted you. Like that's not quite what happened. You lost your job because of your misconduct. Like it kind of, and those are some of the things where I'm like, but that's not quite true. And if someone who doesn't know the whole story hears that, they're gonna be like, see, this is why I don't want to. This is why I don't want the church. And
Yeah.
But no, hold on though, he did something. Like, it's not. Yeah, go on.
So for the listeners, this is where it's an important point for us to mention that this is an isolated section of a conversation that sits in a wider conversation that has more context, which sits in a wider backdrop of information and facts. And I think that's important
we live
to
in a
say
snippet
because,
generation.
and that's why I think it's important to say because, like, it's very possible for, like so what you've done is you've helped to highlight some of the wider context, right? Which is important to understand as part of how we kind of process these things. I really I thought it was quite interesting, in a good way as well, to kind of hear the account, right? Because here's my thing, bro. Yeah, slightly controversial to some, maybe, but when it comes to the titles and the roles and stuff, you already know where I sit with it, right? I respect it. I'm not saying that there's no like honor and all of that kind of stuff with it, but to me, before you're a pastor, before you're a teacher, before you're an evangelist, before you're any of these so-called things, you're a human and you are a disciple and you are a brother or a sister in the faith, right? And I tend to come from the angle of whether you operate under the title or not, function is what is most important, because I think there are a lot of people that are actually functioning in certain positions or under certain particular roles, let's just say within the kingdom, without necessarily having the title, aka Evangelist T, as an example, right?
Stop it. Stop it. Actually, stop it.
But in all seriousness, I think, like, coming from that perspective, I think absolutely, like, I don't think anybody needs for me to echo the sadness of the fallout of all of this stuff and all of that kind of stuff to it, but to the side of, okay, now that this has happened, now that we have a human being who we at least perceive and identify as a brother in the faith who has fallen, what is our response? Because I think, like, I don't know if it was included in the clip, he mentioned it in part, he said the shout out to that guy Randy something or whatever, right? But in the middle of the mess, this person obviously reaches out and says to him, just so you know, there's a space for you here if you want to come here and rebuild. Powerful. On top of that, what he describes about with obviously Mike Todd as well, he pretty much echoed a similar sentiment at a different point in the timeline as well. And I just felt like it's such an interesting thing to see how that plays out, because I think the default is to write off, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying let's dismiss and let's ignore and all of that kind of stuff. But one thing that I do know is absolutely true is that the gospel is very still much present and repentance is still very much an opportune thing available to even somebody who has fallen in the instance that he has fallen. Because I think sometimes the way that we speak about these things, right? All right. I'll bring up another example. I don't know if we actually mentioned it. We did mention it by name because we even brought up the paper a few years back, the Ravi situation, right? Ravi's gone, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, don't get me wrong, as compelling as the evidence and all of that kind of stuff is, my whole conclusion on the matter is, if this is the case and this is how it ended for him, that is very sad. However,
bro, let's be real, yeah. If Ravi was still here, he would have probably ended up in prison. Yeah,
yeah.
That's and this is where I think we need to separate two things.
Yeah.
Right? One thing is like, okay, as a human, there is forgiveness, 100%, 100%. Like, I don't have anything against Carl Lentz because, bro, like, he did what humans do. Do you know what I mean? Like, our forefathers, bro, Abraham was a liar. Yeah. David was a murderer. Yeah. Noah was a drunk. Bro, all of those sins to God are the same thing. Yeah. So as a human, cool. But, bro, he's a leader. And that's where it's different. Do you see what I mean? And now where we're talking about, okay, should they be restored to leadership? And that's where I think
I ain't even getting into that mess. That right there, I'm not even getting into that.
But
at all.
bro, that is the bit that's the bit that I struggle with, yeah. Because sometimes I feel like some of these pastors, yeah, especially like the hench ones, yeah, and we all know who we're talking about, yeah, bro. They're like tall, dark, handsome hench pastors, yeah.
Yeah.
They have this little club, and sometimes it feels like, okay, part of the issue is you don't. Bro, you don't hold each other accountable. That's part of the issue. Yeah, part of the issue.
Can I just ask you a question though? Do you think there's a reason for that, bro? Because if that's the commonality amongst the community, it's like, bro, if me and you are drinking from the same pool, right? Like, what stone am I gonna throw from my glass house, right?
And I feel like, bro, that is maybe part of the potential problem.
Yeah.
Because is he like that? Is he welcoming him in? Because actually, you've got your own. And this is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But part of the issue that they've talked about with Hillsong is that there's no accountability. People are acting reckless and no one's doing anything about it. So, women are coming forward and reporting it and nothing's happening. That's the problem. Like, I'm with you on that. I think definitely the separation of, okay, let's talk about the accountability side, which is one thing. Accountability and justice is one thing. One thing. Yeah.
And then the other side is, how do you deal with this human being? Because even the prison system, right, as imperfect as it is, in terms of its objectives and what it's supposed to achieve, in theory at least anyway, right, is yes to punish the person, but to also rehabilitation is supposed to be part of the objective. Absolutely, bro. Like, this is, do your research, bro, 100%. Part of what the prison system's supposed to do is to rehabilitate. So when people,
but that's not the main part, though.
No.
That's the thing.
But it's part and parcel of what it's supposed to do.
It's like 10%. It's 10%.
I disagree. I think in terms of what it's supposed to do, I'm not saying what it actually does effectively, because our prison system in the UK is absolutely broke, busted, and disgusted, right? I can't speak for anywhere in the world, so I can only speak for what I can see, right?
Yeah.
But even within our broken and imperfect system, right, what you'll realize is that during a person's prison sentence, and this is from commentary on like first-hand prison sentences that I've witnessed firsthand as well, right? Yes, a person is serving their time, but you'll realize that they're doing things like making education opportunities available for them, giving them opportunities to gain skills. And the whole point is, yes, they're here to serve the time for the crime that they committed, but if we really are going to go down to some of the goals that we really want to achieve from a prison system, is that we want to rehabilitate so that when they do get released, they are a much better upstanding citizen who is unlikely or less likely to reoffend. Now, again, theory, that's what part of what it's supposed to do. Whether it's actually effective in doing that is a whole nother conversation. So I feel like the separation,
I think, from that though, is that part of people being in prison is to protect society. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
That's actually the biggest chunk. The biggest chunk is get people who are going to harm society off the streets. I'd give that, me personally, 50%. Punish them for their stuff, 40%. Rehabilitate, 10%. That's how,
but the problem is, if you only give it 10%, the problem is you're stacking the odds against yourself, because it's like,
okay, that's not my design of prison. That's just to be really clear, that's not how I would design a prison. Yeah,
I was going to say, because you're going to have some crazy reoffenders, bro. They be sharing ideas in that prison cell.
Yeah, no. That for me is how I see prison now. 50% get the people off the streets to protect people. 40% punish people. 10% rehabilitate, because we don't do a great job at rehabilitating.
No, we don't.
I don't think that's a design.
We don't. And I think this is where, again, now spilling that same example and that parallel into the kingdom and the faith and all of that kind of stuff, is that we do a great job of punishing, don't we, bro? We do a great job of dragging people's name and making sure that the masses know. Well, let me take that back. In some situations, we do a great job of doing the media PR campaign to let people know that this is what's happened and allowing those things to spill out. And then, unfortunately, in some places, it's kept hush hush, right?
But bro,
But then,
do you know the sad thing is, is that most of these things get found out not because the church put it out there, but because an
world.
unbeliever has put it
Yep.
out there.
Yep.
Because bro, the
Yep.
woman that he cheated with, she wasn't a Christian. She wasn't in his church. She was like, she's like some new age lady. Like, she's not a Christian, right? When it happens within the church, it gets hush hush. Like, it doesn't get put out. Even with Ravi's thing, like, there was stuff happening. Like, bro, we don't actually put it out there. We don't. We take that verse
alleged.
Take not your brother to court or whatever the verse is. Like, we hold onto that so strongly. Like, we don't.
No,
we
I think
don't do that.
I
We
think
don't
that,
do that.
I think you're right in the need to separate the two.
Because bro, there is
Because,
forgiveness. Like, there's only one unpardonable sin, right? And cheating on your wife is not the unpardonable sin.
Lord,
So
Lord.
there is
Careful who you tell that to.
yeah, but bro, if you want to go
But
cheat
it's
on your
real.
wife, you're gonna go cheat on your wife.
No,
Like,
100%.
Or not to you,
100%,
like,
100%.
you know?
Yeah. And
I
yeah,
just-
man.
yeah.
I think
Yeah, there is
But
forgiveness
I
there.
think
But bro, like, if you've got a felony, there are certain things you can't do. If you've got a felony, you can't go into America. So it's simple. Like, if you've got a felony, there are certain things you can't do. And I'm not saying like cheating on your wife is like a felony, but if we're using that same,
no, but we can treat it as a felony, right?
we can
if
treat
you
it
wanna
like
go there,
that's
right?
something as Christians we're not meant to be doing. And it
Yeah.
says if you're going to be a leader, you have to be the husband of one wife. You have to be not a drunkard. Blah blah blah. Your house has to be in order. Like, if that's really our standard, then actually, like, is he qualified to be a leader anymore? I don't know.
So my question on that, in kind of how we hash out the answer to that, becomes around timeline, because this is the thing. If we're to say that because of a fall like that the person, it's too techie for me, bro. It's too
I've got an
techie
example for you.
because
I've got an example for you.
Go on, give me one.
Moses,
Yeah.
was meant to speak to the rock, and he struck the rock because he got angry. What happened after? God said, "You're not seeing the promised land. I'll show you from here, but you're not entering the land." David wanted to build the temple. God said, "You got too much blood on your hands. You can't build the temple." Like, he was disqualified. Like, disqualification can actually happen, and that's scary. You can be disqualified.
And I guess the challenge with it is that even with those both examples, it'd be interesting to look at the text as well. But I think from what you just described, both of them were God said, right?
Yeah.
Because equally, like, I just wonder a lot of things, man. It's so techy.
Bro, I wonder as well.
It's so techy.
I think,
and I don't have
think,
all the answers on this one for sure, bro.
No. I think what I love about what you're saying, for me, is the side of, as Christians, how do we help to restore people? How do we help to be a safe place for people? And if you've fallen, like, what happens? Because I'm thinking, okay, let's say one of our close friends falls. Yeah, we're not going to name any names because we're not going to do the Nigerian thing. I'm not speaking over them. I'm not even going to name them. Yeah, but what if one of our friends fell?
Yeah,
like, what would we actually do? Like, would we shun them?
Because I think this is the thing, right? Again, even with the questions that we're asking, for me, it's not even about like rehabilitation and restoration to the point of bringing them back to that position. I'm just talking about how we're dealing with them as a human, right? Because in a situation like the Carl Lentz situation, right, is that yes, he's not denying it. He's guilty. His hands are up. It's all out there, right? We know what it was, right? At least from what was reported. But regardless of whether he ends up going back into a pastoral leadership role and all of that kind of stuff, which by the sounds of it, by the way, from what I did hear, it doesn't sound like he's got an appetite for it himself.
But bro, he's on his way back already. He's
Is
on
he?
a staff at a church. Like,
Well,
how do you think this starts?
But then what does his role actually involve, right?
And this is where, like, some of the stuff I read was like he's consulting on how to restore people after they fall, for example. And that's what I'm saying, like, bro, he's got the ear of the senior pastor. Yeah. Bro, whether you're formally in leadership or not, like, bro, he's going to be influencing things. And that's what I'm saying, like, it's an interesting one.
So and this is the thing, is that, so then would we say that basically, like, because of the situation and the past and all of that kind of stuff, one should basically effectively be quiet, just be a pew sitter, and that's it?
But bro, maybe the church shouldn't be paying you.
Why
that's
not?
What I'm saying. Bro, I
told you don't rate. I said it at the beginning of the episode.
No, bro, I do, Ray. Yeah, but the way that I feel about it is that
Yeah.
I don't know the impact that's going to have on other people and how other people are going to be tempted and this and that. Like, because it talks about, well, if that causes your brother to sin, don't eat the meat. But bro, like, if you're seeing, oh, okay, well, he cheated on his wife all the time, and actually now he's moved to a new church, made loads of money, like, he's fine. Like, yeah, you had your moment of public disgrace, but bro, you've made a podcast that you're making bare money off of. You're doing all these appearances. You're getting a new, like, bro, that is going to be tough for people.
But you see, the thing is, though, this is where, I don't know, man, maybe I'm a bit more hardline on this subject, but I just feel like if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. If you're going to look for an excuse or a reason to justify it, you're going to look for a reason and an excuse to justify it, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Yes, there is potentially the pool of people who are ignorant, maybe less knowledgeable, less aware, less experienced in the faith. Cool. There is a possibility that harm can be brought to them. But if we're doing the kingdom properly, right? And if they also have relationships with other kingdom people who are more experienced and who, in theory, should really be part of their discipleship journey, that should kind of be the spaces and places where that gets worked out. Because, bro, people are going to do what they're going to do, bro. Do you get what I'm saying?
Bro, I guess there are questions about, are certain places doing the kingdom properly?
Come on. And I think these are some of the real questions we need to be asking.
That's a big debate. Because, look, like, I've liked a lot of Mike Todd's sermons, yeah? There are some things that I'm like, I don't even understand. Yeah, like, what are we doing? Yeah, like that wasn't Mike Todd, but the Jesus is a stripper thing. Yeah, I'm like, fam, it's just unnecessary. Like, what are we doing? Like, and this is where I'm saying, like, okay, if we're doing the kingdom properly, where people are holding you accountable, where everybody is fully repentant and trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. Okay, cool. But is that actually what we're doing, bro? I don't even know how long it's been. Yeah, but it all feels like it's really, really quick to be like, okay, now I'm back in this. It's like, whoa. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels fast, bro. It feels really fast. But obviously, I don't know any of these people from Adam. They don't know I exist. You know? They don't. But I think what I need to be careful of is, who am I following? Who am I letting lead me? Yeah? And that's why, like, you remember, like, when Kanye brought the gospel album, yeah? Bro, how many Christians were like, oh, Kanye, our brother, da da da. I said, bro, I had to say, I'm not listening to that music for a little while. Yeah. And then over time, Kanye proved what he proved. Like, he's back where he was.
God. Yeah.
Bro. Imagine if now I'd put him in that position of, he's my new worship leader and blah, 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 blah. Bro, it's been a year. Yeah. Come on.
You know what? I think, and this is why across the board, like, whether it's even listening to a podcast like this, whether it's listening to a teacher, whether it's just receiving some level of influence from anywhere, is so important to never forget that each and every single one of us are human beings, and we are all capable of making bad decisions and misrepresenting the king himself, right? But yeah, man, I think, before we round up, let me just dial it back to the kind of side of this conversation that I thought would still be worth to bring back up. But how do we deal with these situations, right? Like, how, like, let's play it out, right? Scenario does happen where a person that you do know firsthand has, because, you know, it's interesting, because I remember a time within the last few years where a similar situation like that happened a bit more closer to home.
Really?
Yeah. With just someone that we know. And again, at the time, I remember that there was a lot of conversation where people were writing them off, talking their name, group chats, this, that, and the other, rare. But there was a small handful of people that were willing to just to see how they're doing, right? Because I feel like this is the thing, is that, I guess my point is that even in a situation where someone has fallen dramatically as well, right, based on our measure, they're still a human at the end of the day, and they're still, like, it doesn't stop the opportunity for the gospel witness, is my point. Because, cool, maybe we do decide that we're not going to restore this person back to a position of leadership for whatever reason, right? Maybe we don't allow the church to pay them a salary for whatever they're going to do, right? But regardless of whether we do or we don't, that person still needs to be entreated with the gospel message, because ultimately, for so long as we have breath, there is an opportunity to repent. And I think the repentance I'm talking about is more to do with our eternal destination, and whether we end up going all the way off the rails and suffering eternal damnation because we have failed to continue believing in the finished work of Jesus in covering and paying for the sins that we've committed. Not so that it can be abused, but coming back to a place of genuine repentance. Because look, bro, when you start going down a slippery path, like, how easy is it to come to a place where it's like, well, I've messed up now, so let me just keep on going and like double down on what I'm doing. And I think it's things like that which heighten the need for us as the people of the kingdom to do the thing that we question whether it's actually happening, and step in and do that whole relational thing where we check in on people, where we create spaces to allow them to land after they've fallen, right?
And I think that there's a few things that are really important in that. And like one thing I would say about Carl Lentz, is that he seems very repentant. Like he seems like he is willing to do the work to be restored into fellow, whatever it is. I think that we need to be really careful about unrepentant people, because I think that even when we think about where it says bad company corrupts good character.
With morals. Yeah.
So you do also have to be careful in those situations that you make sure you understand. Like, bro, me checking in on someone is very different from every day I'm with that person, and like there's levels to it. Like for me, like checking in on people is absolutely fine, but you also need to understand yourself. And actually, like if I'm putting myself in that environment, it says about being careful so that you don't
fall into the same thing.
You have to be really like, you have to have wisdom on how you balance that. And maybe it's actually, it's not just me that goes to talk to that person. Maybe I go with my wife and we both talk to them, whatever it is. Like you figure out what wisdom looks like for you. But it's not just like abandon everything to like pick this person up. Like this whole thing of like, oh, I have to be so close, your blood splatters on me. I'm like, calm down. Like what's all this? Like, why are we being so dramatic? Like, no, like you can still support people.
Poetic emphasis,
bro. It's for me, it's just too much, And the thing is, is that Mike Todd has a massive platform, and that's where I'm saying, like, for me, when you have that kind of platform, it comes with a lot of responsibility. So even, bro, us talking to each other is very different than two pastors of mega churches doing what they're doing, bro. It's not the same. Like, it's just not the same.
What's interesting about what you said about the platform is that earlier in the conversation, there's actually a part where Mike Todd's talking about how it did not make sense, and I can understand why he said it. It did not make sense for him at the time that he did to basically reach out to Carl Lentz and to engage with him in that way and to take on that risk, because this happened when, as he described it, which I agree with because I saw it everywhere on the internet, Mike was in his blow up, right?
What do you mean?
He was blowing up, like his platform and his name and his fame. He was growing. His influence was growing. So I guess the way he described it is the trajectory of his future, or whatever, how we would put it, would not have been best served by taking on the potential controversy of reaching out to a person like Carl Lentz. I think this was, by the way, timeline wise, I think this was before Spitgate, just to be clear.
What world do we live in right now, You know that whole thing about there's no such thing as bad publicity? Bruv, people are going to know your name that didn't know your name because you've done it. Like, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Carl Lentz is more famous now than he's ever been.
I hear it, but it doesn't help your campaign, because it's like, the thing is, I guess the thing is, I do agree that it's publicity nonetheless, right?
Can I say one thing?
Let's talk about brand association.
Bro, look at Donald Trump. Yeah?
What about him?
Bro, the man, the more notoriety he got, the more he became president. Donald Trump became the president of the United States. Can you imagine that?
So,
America is different, bro.
I know. This isn't even just America. America's got influence over the whole world, bro. But I don't know, bro, because I think this brand, bro, you can't ignore the brand side of things, because it's like, yes, you will become a talking point 100%, but the question is, will you become a talking point for all the right reasons, right?
People will join the church just to watch the train crash.
Well,
they'll join it just to see that. Like, bro, we live in a world where
you have to ask yourself, do you want that? Right?
But bro, in their mind, the more people that are in my church, whatever the reason, the more they can be hit by the gospel. So, bro, like for me, it's like.
So you think he had an ulterior motive?
No, not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying at all. I don't know his heart. I can't say he had it. But what I'm saying is, I don't agree with your argument. this
I'm
guy
not
is
making the
crap.
argument. I'm
No.
repeating
When I say
what
your
he said,
argument,
and
I mean his argument. I don't mean
I-
you.
no. But the thing is, I'm repeating what he communicated, but at the same time, I can understand it because, bro, like I'll tell you now, yeah, if I'm on my come up, right, like, don't get me wrong. Yes, I'm the person that believes that yes, all publicity can be helpful in some sort of way, shape, or form. But it's like, bro, do I really want to take on that risk? I'm already blowing up.
But I think
Is
in
it
the society
necessary?
we live in now, I don't think it's as big of a risk as it was before. Because, bro, everybody is going through scandal. And, bro, even like R. Kelly that has been in scandal for years, they're still playing his music, bruv. They're still giving him royalties.
But then, aren't people's names still being dragged to this day as a result of things that other people did? Who's the R. Kelly one? Someone
But, bro,
getting named.
Bro, what's happening is that people who no one has thought about for 10 years, are now seeing their Spotify streams go through the roof.
Yeah.
Because now people are talking about this. Oh, okay, who is this person that did a song with R. Kelly? Let me listen to this. Bro, the world we live in now, is mad.
I don't know, bro.
It's mad.
I don't know, man. Like, with the Diddy situation as an example, I'm not going to name the person who it is, but there's a particular name of a particular rapper, let's just say, whose name I have seen getting dragged left, right, and center and basically becoming a meme because of the Diddy situation, right? And this is why I'm talking about the whole brand association.
But bro, show me their streams, though. Show me their streams in the last period. And then you'll see that actually their name getting dragged through the mud is actually good for them. That's what's mad.
I'd be curious to see the data, right? But I still think brand association is an important thing, bro.
Because, bro, when was the last time you thought about P. Diddy before this stuff?
But why am I what is the association? Like, let me ask you this. Okay, so if that's the case, would you want to do a collaboration with P. Diddy? Well, that's not even the best question.
Me personally?
No, because in fact, let me actually ask you, would you?
Me personally, with Diddy?
Yeah.
No.
Business deal, commercial.
Me personally, no.
Why not? What if he's at a discount? He can take your brand, whatever business you want to put in front of him, and he'll do an ad or something like that.
But at what cost?
Super cheap.
Yeah, but remember, bro, like, I'm not happy to just get the money because my name's been dragged through the mud. What I'm saying is a lot of people don't actually care.
No. But I'm saying, like, any one of the business things that you do now, you have an opportunity to have Diddy basically do like a brand ambassador campaign of some kind for that particular business. Would you take it?
No.
Why not?
And bro, even before all the, no Diddy stuff, I would have still said no.
But why?
Bro, his record label was called Bad Boy. I'm not a bad boy. Yeah?
Like, your name will go far though, bro.
Nah.
And you see, this is my point. I think that only echoes the same thing because it's like there is something about his brand, his history, his associate. You don't want to be associated with it.
But bro, he's not even a Christian. We're not talking about Christians doing non-Christians. We're talking about two Christians together.
I hear that, bro. But would you only have brand ambassadors for any of your businesses that are Christians?
But it depends on the business.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So like
my clothing company is a Christian clothing company. So why is Bad Boy going to be wearing my clothing?
So take another one. And the thing is, even taking that point with the Christian clothing, right? To the point that you were mentioning, it's still publicity, bro. People are going to be landing on your website, bro, whether they're Christians or not.
But that's not the publicity that I personally want.
Exactly.
I'm not famous,
You're making
bro.
my point, bro.
How?
You're making the case because it's the exact same thing that I'm saying is that, yes, there is a level to which if you did do that Diddy campaign, it would drive traffic to your website.
Bro.
People would start searching Dunamis clothing. Bro, you'll probably be making sales, right?
Mike Todd spit in someone else's mouth on stage. Yeah, we are not the same person.
No, but that happened timeline-wise. I'm pretty sure, again, someone else fact check it, but I'm pretty sure the timeline of when that happened was actually after.
But what I'm saying is Mike Todd is down for the controversy. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so let me ask you another question, yeah? Would you do a deal with Mike Todd for Dunamis?
Oh, that one, I would have to pray about it because, bro, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Would you?
I would have to think about it.
I'd have to think real deep about it. Because,
the thing is, but remember, me saying that is coming from the position that I've said about brand association and all of those kind of things, right? I think, it wouldn't be for me.
Before I would have,
it wouldn't be a hard no for me. I can definitely agree to say that, right?
Would you have Carl Lentz on the podcast, for example?
Absolutely. I'd love to have a conversation with him.
And that's what I'm saying. I would happily have him on the podcast and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Would I have P. Diddy on the podcast? Probably not. Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, at least Carl Lentz is still Christian. Do you know what I mean? Like he can still share something.
you
He
see-
can still edify.
But then that's why I come back to the question: would you do a brand ambassador deal with Mike Todd and Carl Lentz for Dunamis? And I think the fact that you're thinking about it and that it's not just a straight up 100% because it's all good publicity, I think is down to this whole brand association thing.
But you see, bro, what I'm saying is I don't necessarily agree with the world that we live in where like as long as you're getting public, but there are a lot of people who'd be like, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying.
No, and I agree.
I'm not the measuring stick.
So
I'm not the measuring
agree.
stick.
I agree that there are people like that, but I can understand why, as a general rule, that a person would consider whether they want their brand to be associated with something like that, if you get what I'm saying.
I think what I'm saying is that I don't think it was as risky as Mike Todd may have made it sound. Just like, for me, the trauma thing is like, okay, but you did something and this is happening. I don't think that's not what's doing. I don't think it was just this big risk and he rode it on a white horse like a savior.
But again, in fairness, again, this is based on my account of what he obviously expressed, because it was like a passing statement that he mentioned, right? But it stayed with me because I actually thought about it and I thought, you know what, I can understand that, right? And that's because, again, I come from the angle of the importance of brand association, right?
Yeah.
There's just certain people that, like, bro, there are people. I'll say this. No,
that's the thing.
His brand has controversy surrounding it. That's fine. I get it.
Bro,
let me say this.
Go on.
Let's take our podcast, for example, right?
Yeah.
There are certain people that I'm pretty sure could drive crazy numbers of streams. This podcast could blow up overnight if the right person, quote unquote, mentioned it and started to push it and started to do a brand ambassador deal for it, right? But there are just certain people that I'm just like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to go there, right? And I'm pretty sure you would agree the same as well. Because at the end of the day, for me, brand association is important. It doesn't mean that you never step into controversy, because I'm here for, I already said that I'll have Carl Lentz on the podcast if we had the opportunity. If it so happens to get to him, amazing. We'd love to have him over here, right?
Bro, but I think that, but that's why I'm saying like this is a little bit different, yeah, because I don't think, that Mike Todd is he's not adverse to controversy in much bigger ways than we are. And that's why I'm saying, like, bro, he's a different human to us.
But
he's a very different human.
No, but he did also say we're ready for it. Like when the guy was talking about them getting heat, right?
But that's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. That this whole thing of like, nah.
No, but the
I don't
thing
think
is,
it was a risk for him.
No, but remember the point, bro. It's like we're just gonna have to agree to disagree because we'll be here for 2 hours.
Bro, as a general principle, I agree with what you're saying. Most people are not going to want the negative associations with it. I think that Mike Todd's brand as a whole has elements of that in it already, so it's not really going to ding him that much. And bro, he's a really big brand. Like, he's a really big brand. I don't think he really lost that much from it. That's what I'm saying.
So why
I don't
do
think
you
the way
think,
that it sounds.
Why do you think that even big brands disassociate with certain people when certain things happen?
Some do, but some don't. Some brands
I know,
gravitate
but I'm
towards
talking because I
people.
know obviously now we're speaking about big brands as well, right?
Yeah.
But those that do, those that make a decision to disassociate, to distance, and all of that kind of stuff, which is quite commonplace, right? Why do you feel that they do that? Like, okay, let me give you an example, right? Kanye West, funny enough, we've mentioned him earlier in this podcast, right? He made a few statements which were, I think, described as anti-Semitic, right? And following that, what happens? There was a whole lot of disassociation and distancing that happened with him, right?
Bro, there are other conspiracy theories about what happened, is what I'm going to say. There are many other theories about what really happened and blah, blah, blah.
Give the people the final thoughts, bro.
Bro, as a general principle, I agree with what you're saying. Most people are not going to want to associate their brand with negativity. I feel like I don't think Mike Todd is one of those people. Sometimes it's like he's looking for that stuff. That's what I'm saying.
He was lying when he said what he said then, bro.
No. I think it tells a good narrative and it makes him look a certain way. Fair. Like, but I don't know how true that is. For me, I can see both sides. I can see how actually it might benefit you. I'm not saying that's his intention. What I'm saying is I don't think it's as bad of a risk for him as Mike Todd, who spat in someone's mouth on stage in front of millions of people.
Well, he's done it before as well. But you know what? To say that though, to add to that as well though, do you think that he perceived it? Do you think that the account that he gave of how he perceived it was an honest reflection of what he really believes?
It might have been an honest reflection, but I don't think that it's true.
No,
That's
because
what I'm saying.
okay.
I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying he has ulterior motives.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, when you really stack it up like that,
Yeah.
like, I don't think it's that same way.
This might actually help your brand, is your point, basically.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so I guess, okay, so this is where I'll land it, right? So that we can come to a place of peace on this situation.
Bro, I'm in peace. I'm in peace. I broadly agree with what you're saying.
Bro,
Mike Todd is different. That's the thing. His brand is different.
This is the thing, right? I think I believe he was being honest when he expressed his assessment of it, right? I don't have any reason to question it. And I think I can understand why he may have felt that way. And I think this is where, to be honest with you, this is where sometimes things bigger than what we understand and realize actually happen to benefit us. 828, if you want to go there, right? Because if he genuinely believed that this could actually hurt my blow up, but yet he still chose to take what he perceived as a risk, right? At that particular time, then
I have a question for you.
No, let me finish. Then if that's what he believed and he genuinely believed and he still took that risk, then I think what that's reflective of is someone choosing to prioritize the person and basically giving them a landing space, right? Above the perceived rise that you're currently on. I'll say that.
May I ask you a question, please?
And I don't think it's controversial. Go on. What's your question?
Should Christians be having a blow up? Like, can we just recognize the fact that that's what we're talking about?
Absolutely.
It might hurt my blow up.
Absolutely.
Like, should we have a
Christians
blow up?
should have blow ups, bro.
Should we?
We should have blow ups, 100%, bro. I think our brands should blow up. I think our businesses should blow up. And by blow up, I'm not talking about explode to the point of like smithereens and nothing exists anymore. But I'm saying absolutely. Like, I think it's not necessarily something that you chase or you pursue, but I think in any sphere, if you're doing something like we spoke about in the previous episode extremely well, plus God's supernatural like hand over things, I think blow-ups are inevitable. I think Jesus's ministry had a massive blow-up. I think the work of Paul and the disciples after Jesus left the earth had a massive blow-up as well. And I think that's why the scriptures speak about how referring to those people as those that turned the world upside down, right?
But that's something slightly different, and that's where I feel like we need to be really careful about our blow-ups. Because for me, if I'm thinking, well, should I hang out with this person or not because it will affect my blow-up, that's very different. Like, bro, we might have a conversation that says, well, should we do this or not do this because of how it's going to affect people? Is it going to edify people? But we're not thinking, is it going to stop our blow-up? Like, and that's what I'm saying, like, we need to be careful as Christians for that.
To his credit, Mr. Controversial Mike Todd, I think that was the point he was kind of highlighting, is that on paper, because I think it does speak to something that some people would make a conscious decision to be like, nope, because of my blow up, right? And that's why I said, like, if he genuinely believed that, which I have no reason to disbelieve he did, like, he made the right choice, in my opinion, right? And it's a very different conversation because now we're talking about Mike Todd. Let's think about how many other pastors, preachers, people that have big platforms, names, and brands may have considered it, but chose not to because they were scared of what it would do to their brand and the risk that they would potentially take on, hypothetically speaking, right?
I think
True or not?
I think it's a scrutiny.
True or not? My question is, how many people potentially, because we don't know their names, they're not going to come forward and say, oh, by the way, I thought about it, but I just decided against it because of my brand. They're not going to come forward and say that, right?
I think we need to be really careful as Christians of this thing of like our brand. I think we need to be really careful.
And you know what? To even take that even a step further, we might not even refer to it as our brand, but sometimes it's just about our reputation, what people are going to think about us, right? Let's simplify brand, right? Because brand is something that we talk about with
it's reputation.
business and all that, but it's ultimately down to reputation. It's like, what will people think about me as a human being? It's like, so, if I engage with this person who has all this controversy around their name, like, what's this blood gonna do on me?
but I think here's two slightly, and this is where we separate the things, because I think if they just said, look, Carl Lentz is going to Mike Todd's church, no one's going to be like, why would you accept him in church and blah, 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 blah. But it's the bit about, well, you're hiring him on your staff. And I think that's really where, like, okay, that can be the damage, because that's not just like, okay, we gave him a space to land. That's like, we gave him a space to land and a platform. Like, that's slightly different.
Or maybe and a job. Because to
Yeah, but-
this day,
But the job is
bro.
the platform.
But the thing is, to this day, I still don't know. I haven't seen anything to suggest he's in a teaching position, number one, right? And again, I know from what I did recall, like you described as well, I heard that he was in a consultative role of some kind. Bro, someone's going to... You ain't even got to be in a job role to consult, bro. You just got to be in a relationship with someone. You can provide advice. You can provide perspectives and all of that kind of stuff. And I think, again, now to kind of see the counter side of it, part of it, I can see how if this is what the man was doing for a living, like he mentioned in this conversation, right, that Mike Todd flew him and his family out because at that time, they didn't have the means to do so. He's lost his job. Let's talk about that, right? He's been cut off financially. Again, I don't know what his net worth was and all of that. But even just in him mentioning that in passing, it made me think, right, actually, you don't think about these things. Like, they couldn't afford to fly out. So, Mike Todd...
I have other thoughts about that personally.
Listen, I'm just telling you what he said, and I'm taking it for what it is. I'm just assuming the best, right?
But bro, let's think about this a slightly different way, yeah?
Yeah.
Flights in America are very cheap, yeah? He lived in New York before, and he'd moved to Florida. Florida is significantly cheaper than New York, yeah? When they say fly out, yeah, what I might be thinking of is, well, he flew me out on the TC jet, yeah? Of course, you couldn't afford to do that.
I think you're being very skeptical.
But bro,
because
maybe I am.
I think for me, hearing how it was mentioned, it sounds to me very much like, and I can understand why, bro. If
you think he put him on EasyJet? You think he put him on Spirit?
I don't know. Maybe he put him on the best. I don't know, bro. Right? But
Fair.
if that's the case, I don't know. I don't care about that. But but I think him being put on staff, whatever your position, you could be made a cleaner, you could be doing anything, right? I think it's...
But bro, he's not. And consultants have a lot of influence. You pay people to consult you because you want to take their advice. And that's why I'm saying, like, that might be what people feel uncomfortable about.
Do you think that he may have information that they could benefit from a consultancy point of view?
I don't think that's the question, though. That's why I don't think that's the question.
But do you?
Okay. Does P. Diddy have information that you could benefit from about business?
Absolutely.
There you go. Like,
but let me ask you though: if P. Diddy was offering a £50 session to sit with him for 6 hours and talk to you about business and consult you, would you take it?
Is it in person or virtual? Because
either one.
And this is why I'm saying, like, I think we need to be, and also in the Bible it says about who should be teaching and doing all the stuff and deacons in the church. And that's why I'm saying, like, that's what I'm trying to reconcile it with personally. It's not about does he have the right information. He probably does have really good information. He ran a massive church. Of course he does. But what I'm saying is I'm struggling to reconcile that with church leadership.
So do you feel... Sorry, I just got a message. So do you feel like there's a biblical inconsistency with him being put on staff in whatever capacity as a consultant, let's just say?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that. What I'm saying is that I don't know how to reconcile the two. I struggle to reconcile the two. I'm not saying they're definitely wrong for it at all. What I'm saying is I don't quite understand and I don't know how to reconcile the two, and I don't know what should we do in that situation. Because I totally agree with you about the human side of it. Like, give the human a place to land, like 100%. What I don't understand is the, like, probably paying him pretty well on the staff of a church. That's the bit that I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand in that capacity. Don't understand. Personally.
I really don't want the man to be paid. Eh?
Sorry?
You don't want the man to be paid.
No, bro, like, everybody needs to work and eat.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is because that's what a lot of people have a problem with, is that, because there was another one about one of those guys, and like, he abused like a 12-year-old girl. Yeah? And then he got restored back to ministry and was back on staff. Like, bro, that's wild. That's like, and this is where, like, what Carl Lentz has done is different.
I was going to say, because if you're talking about what you just described, I don't even know who that is, but I can 1000% understand why that is very, 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 like, what's going on here?
Because that's a crime. Yeah, that's a felony. Yeah. What Carl Lentz did is not a crime. It's not a felony. Like, but it is against what we've been told people in influential positions in the church should be doing. And that's the bit for me. It's like, but he's in an influential position in the church. And that's what I think, for me, that's what I struggle to reconcile.
And I think where my question around it all lies is where, again, different people, different crimes, different offenses and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I think one of the questions that remains for me is, can a person change? Like, and is there, like, don't get me wrong, I do understand there are certain places where it's like disqualified, we don't do that. Like, if, for example, personally for me, if you asked me the question of, should someone who has been found guilty of child molestation and all of that kind of stuff, pedophilia, be put back into a position where they're effectively going to be over children again? For me, absolutely not. We're just not doing that, right?
But that's also because we grade sin. So for us,
yeah, you're right.
That is way, and understandably so. For me, I have no problem that I grade sin. Yeah,
listen,
doing that to a child.
I come from a risk background. I'm from a risk background, so you categorize. Like, you have to kind of assess based on a risk assessment. Likelihood, probability, is it worth the risk, basically, right? And it's not because you're necessarily condemning and saying, no, they will always go back to the same thing, but it's more just a case of, from a risk assessment, and even now start looking at child safeguarding and things like that, it's just manage the risk, right?
But, for example, if you said to me, they hired him as a cleaner, like you mentioned, cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're cleaning the church, that's fine. But for me, I think it's the influence that's really important, because that's the leadership part of things, and that's what I feel a bit in, like, that's what I'm trying to explore.
No, I hear that, and I think this is where, for example, it's probably it would be interesting to understand the depth of what his role looks like day to day, because this is the other thing, right? We know business, right? You can put someone up and give them a title, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what their day to day looks like, right? The depth, and then there's also perception, right? There's a perception
of boys. Bro, they chilled for 5-6 hours. They're boys. Like, that's not just like...
But bro, they're going to be boys whether he's on salary or not, right? And this is my point, is that, like, even if they stripped away the title and all of that kind of stuff, that doesn't mean that he has any less influence. In fact, he may potentially have a lot less visible influence.
But he's benefiting from that. And that's what I think that will be the tight bit. Because, bro, what is the issue that I have with their wages, isn't it? And I think this is what it is, right? But bro, what I don't like about our government a lot, is that they will hire their boys' companies, and I don't actually have a problem with you giving contracts to someone you like or giving jobs to people you like. My thing is, but bro, if you can deliver, cool, I don't mind. So bro, if they can deliver, cool. But actually, bro, like, what I'm thinking about is, like, are you protecting your flock? Because that's what those rules are there for. The rules about qualifications of a deacon are there to protect the people. Yeah? And that's the bit where I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know.
I hear it, bro.
I don't have a problem with him earning money. Let's just do that, yeah? I don't have a problem with him earning money at all. Like, he has to provide for his family. And, bro, he was earning at Hillsong, and he's not anymore. So he needs another job. But should he be pastoring another church or in an influential position in the church? That's the question that I have, personally.
I hear you, bro. I
can't believe you brought this out here, bro. I can't believe it.
Why, man?
Didn't expect it. I never expected it.
And that one was fresh off the dome as well, because I literally was watching that or listening to it probably like no less than an hour before, or 2 hours or so before we actually started recording.
And do you know what? I might actually listen to the whole thing. And just see some more context, because that's the other thing, is that we only have the context that we have. So yeah, I might listen to it and see.
And you might come out of it thinking, you know what? He should be paid a good salary on staff.
I need to understand timelines, repentance, all that kind of stuff. And bro, actually, what does the Bible say about restoring people to their positions and stuff like that? What does it actually say?
What does it say, brother? Refresh my memory.
I can't see anything about timelines, or like, what does it look like, or if you actually do restore someone after that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't see anything about that.
Nothing comes to mind immediately for me.
I can't see anything about that. And do you know what, actually? I think it actually has been quite a while, I'm just looking at it online now.
Yeah.
And there are articles from like 2020.
Yeah, I have a feeling 2020 might be when it happened, yeah.
So it might actually be like...
Does that change how you feel about it?
I think in some ways, yes. Because I think for me, it felt like, wait, this Carl Lentz thing just happened. And now, like, but if, like, actually time has passed, you proved your repentance a little bit, like, It does change things a little bit.
And to the listeners, maybe you've got some scriptures that you're thinking. Maybe you're listening and thinking, Ardwood and Tolu, you don't know what you're talking about. Get at us. Jump on the YouTube. Hit us up
I
in
would
the
love to.
comments. Let us know what you're saying. Share the scriptures and give us a bit more insight on what you think.
Because
about
one
it.
thing I'm very clear on is that I don't know all the answers, but
Yeah,
I just know that
100%.
there are some things that like I just have questions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some things seem weird to me and I just have questions. So yeah, I would love to hear from people. Right. Thank you guys. We would love to hear what you think, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.